Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This month, we've decided to switch things up a little. For the rest of October, we'll be talking to guests from the creative arts industry. Expect painters, dancers, and if you're lucky, maybe even some musicians or writers. I guess you'll just have to wait and find out. Our very first guests today are Simran and Carlie. Simran is the marketing officer at Union House Theatre, and Carlie is a dance student at the Victorian College of the Arts. In this episode, we talk all about dance, theatre, and the true meaning of art. We had some great conversations about how you can overcome stage fright, some ways you can get involved in theatre, and why theatre is a great way to make new friends. If you are an aspiring artist or just looking to try something new at university, make sure to tune in to the rest of this episode. Unfortunately, something went wrong with the video recording, so you won't get to see our beautiful faces for this episode. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curious Coconut. This month we are doing a bit of an arts showcase and talking to people in the arts industry in Melbourne. Today we have two very special guests, Simran and Carlie. Do you guys want to quickly introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure thing. Thanks, Aadi. I'm Simran Giria. I'm Union House Theatre's Marketing and Development Officer. Union House Theatre is a department of University of Melbourne Student Union, and we produce lots of fun theatre shows, events. So think discos, dance shows, theatre, whatnot. And I'm really excited to be here and share a little bit about our upcoming works with y'all.
And what about yourself, Carlie? What do you usually do?
Hi, I'm Carlie Shaw. I'm 22 years old and I'm a first year dance student at VCA. So I'm studying for my Bachelor of Fine Arts in dance. All I do is dance pretty much. I like to paint and draw a little bit on the side as well. But yeah, I love to choreograph and I hope to become a choreographer one day.
Cool, sounds good. And you guys are doing a performance for Guild Fringe, right?
Yes, yeah. So I'm choreographing two dances for the Guild Fringe. I'm part of the site-specific piece and also the small movements performance. So yeah, I'm doing two different dances for that.
Cool, cool. And Simran, do you want to quickly explain what Guild Fringe is? Because it sounds like a fancy word.
Yes, of course. Guild Fringe is a 2-week dance festival that Union House Theatre is presenting as part of Melbourne Fringe Festival. So it's like a festival within a festival sort of thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Um, as if we couldn't get more ambitious than we usually do. So our 2-week program consists of 14 different events.
Oh,
So
wow.
it starts off with a bang. Our opening night event is a silent disco, and then it goes on to present two award-winning artists, Caroline Meaden and Arabella Fran-Starkey, and their wonderful works, Molly and Pictures and Ghosts. And then we have lots of workshops. So hip hop workshop, whacking workshop, physical theater and comedy workshop. And we, of course, have a beautiful, beautiful season of a show called Small Movements, where student artists create and present works that are about 5 to 10 minutes long. So every night you can expect about 4 to 5 different shows in. So you can expect like contemporary jazz, blues, street dance all in one night within 1 hour. So
Wow.
Wow.
That
it's
sounds like a lot of
that's just
fun.
yeah. And we have, like Carlie mentioned, site-specific works. So site-specific work is basically you're presenting art that's not in a typical theater setting. So here students are taking over the entire arts and cultural building. So if you go to the bathroom and witness a dance work,
Oh,
Don't be
surprised.
surprised. Yeah.
Yep.
that
There's
sounds
like lots of
crazy.
projections, exciting stuff. And then what am I missing? We have a alumni from Guild Dance, which I'll delve into the history of it in just a bit. but we have an alumni from Guild Dance Company that were really active in the 1970s and 80s at
Ooh,
House Theatre.
yeah.
He's coming back to present a work, How I Practice My Religion. And
Mm-hmm.
guess what his religion is? It's dance.
Nice, nice. Before you go any further, I think you mentioned there's a whacking workshop.
Yeah.
What is that? That sounds super interesting.
Okay. Any dance enthusiasts listening to me, I apologize in advance. I'm not a dancer, but I'll try to explain it in the most accurate way as possible. So, whacking is a street dance style, and it has a lot of movements that takes inspiration from Hollywood dance. And what you do with your arms and your body kind of shows the layers of music that you're dancing on. So it's very fluid, but um, fluid and striking is
Okay.
how I would describe it. But I've seen whacking before and I absolutely love it. The last time I was introduced to whacking was when we did this workshop last semester with sold out in 24 hours. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a huge community of street dancers in Melbourne, especially in these university settings that
Mm-hmm.
really love like hip hop, popping, whacking, and these street dance styles. It's
Okay.
really something here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was like you whack each other or something like that. So that's why I was like, just that
No.
doesn't make sense. Um, but yeah.
Carly, do you know anything about whacking? I must be butchering this.
Yeah, I think you explained it pretty well. I don't know the exact history of it myself, but yeah, it's really amazing to watch. It's like hypnotizing almost, and yeah, lots of storytelling with like beautiful arm movements that are very synchronized, but like quick as well. Yeah, lots with the upper body and the arms. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely really interesting. May I ask how was coordinating this event? Like how was it getting people involved and getting people to join? How was that like?
Great question. Um, we Union House Theatre is a team of 5 staff members,
Wow. Okay.
and um, even though we're a small and mighty team, we realize we might need extra help. So we
Yeah.
have contracted some stage managers and production managers to help us out with this event because while it is one event, it is actually 14 events with
Yeah.
multiple sessions.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit full on, but what I can tell you is we're hearing like this amazing excitement around us. Like the whole building's buzzing. And um, we started off with some expressions of interest like, hey, if you're interested, fill in this form. And we received like overwhelming excitement and like, oh my gosh, I want to produce a show. And we never thought that we'd be in a position where we'd have to say no to someone. So we tried to accommodate everyone as much as we could because we don't want anyone left behind. And it's been a lot of spreadsheets, let me tell you. Lots of spreadsheets,
Spreadsheets.
lots of lots of emails, lots of calls,
Mhm.
and while the event itself is very glamorous, the back end is like, holy shit, everyone losing. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, there's 200 things on the to-do list and I finished 2. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a lot of that. But I think everyone who has done any theater or dance work in the past knows that up until the day of the performance, it seems like it'll never come into existence. And then somehow on opening night, through the magic of theater, it all comes together and it's a great show. So we're really excited for next week. It's all of our hard work
Yeah.
being shown to the audience, which is the ultimate outcome. So, yeah, to be honest, answering your question in short, Tong, it's been a ridiculously exciting but hectic time for us.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I guess time will tell whether it'll be rewarding, right? Next week you'll, but
I think it'll
I'm pretty
definitely be
sure it'll be
rewarding.
rewarding. Yeah,
Yeah,
by the way it
because
sounds. Yeah.
it
Yeah,
sounds a lot of fun.
we just got our posters delivered this morning and they look fabulous. And I'm just like, I just want to put them up. Can I take like 2 hours? I'll work extra. Can I just put them up?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually excited, super excited to come see some shows next week. By the sounds of it, it seems super cool and like I just want to see the building again. It's been so long since I've seen the Arts and Cultural Building. I feel like it's going to be completely different when I enter it now.
Expect tinsel. There's tinsel everywhere. It's like
Okay.
gold and shimmery tinsel.
Yeah, that's nice. I want to ask, like, what was the inspiration behind this Guild Fringe? I think you mentioned it a little bit at the start, but like, what really got you guys started on this project?
So basically, um, Guild Fringe was conceived by our artistic director, Xanthi Beasley, when she
Mm-hmm.
received the archives of Guild Dance Company, this company that was really active in the 1970s and 80s with lots of dance work. And a lot of students that were involved in Guild Dance Company back then have now become really, really big award-winning artists in the dance industry. And paying homage to the past and Guild Dance Company's legacy, we've created this Guild Fringe dance
Yeah,
and showcasing work and taking that past forward. So it's almost like a past meets present, taking it to the future kind of situation. Yeah.
super cool. Where are the archives, by the way? I don't know what that means.
So archives are documentation from some of the shows that Guild Dance did in the 1970s and 80s.
Yeah.
And we received a box of photographs, of posters, of some recording on cassette tapes, um, and VHS. And
Yeah.
we somehow figured out how to play it.
Oh
And
my God.
Carlie's doing a bit of digging into the archives. So I'll let Carlie explain what you found in the box because that's what made Guild Fringe what it is today. So yeah, Carlie, take it away.
Yeah, so Arabella digitized a lot of all of it, which is fantastic. So what I've seen is photos from the performances, yeah, from the 70s, 80s, and 90s of these wonderful dance and theatre, mostly dance works by the Guild Dance. And yeah, they're just like small snippets of the performance and also full-length videos of some of the performances as well. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been really special to look at. And yeah, the posters, just yeah, posters promoting the show, marketing things, and also a bunch of documents as well. So there's some like old rehearsal notes or like I don't know if there must have been like messages between two people on like organizing these shows, and some of them are quite funny because they're just like very I don't know, very like normal conversations that have just been documented somehow
Yeah.
between different festival coordinators and producers and things. And yeah, even spreadsheets of like budget and all this really good stuff from, yeah, these performances in the
What
70s and
what
80s.
was
It's
the
really
budget
cool.
like before? I'm curious compared to as it is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot less than what it would cost
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like a time capsule of like all this
Yeah.
data, and it
Mm.
must have been super interesting to look back.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
was Guild Dance like part of the University of Melbourne, or was it like a separate thing?
Yeah. So UHT has 25 student theatre groups affiliated with us. So
Okay.
basically, what that means is while we produce our own shows, we also support 25 autonomous student groups to produce their own shows.
Mm-hmm.
So in a semester of 4 months, for example, this semester, over the course of 4 months, we had 19 different shows
Oh, wow.
venues. So we don't directly produce them, but we support our students in building them from scratch. So we give them production help, marketing help, artistic direction help,
Yeah.
and basically show them how they can bring their work from an idea, whether it's a new work or whether they want to create Legally Blonde again on the stage. We help
Yeah.
them with that. So that's a part of our jobs on top of the events that we put on. And just like that, Guild Dance Company was one of the affiliated groups with Union House Theatre.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. So the students were still putting on their own works. They were creating them, they were imagining them, they were directing them. So it's all them, but we still step in to help wherever we can.
Yeah, yeah. So you're basically like a sort of overarching kind of umbrella thing. You support the students, but you also like do your own production like once a semester.
Exactly right. Like if you think about Fringe, how Fringe has a festival, but
Yeah.
artists put on their own work.
Yeah.
But Fringe also has a year-long program that they produce. So
Okay.
something similar.
And how did you first get involved with UHT?
I applied for a job.
Okay. And this was like the same like marketing coordinator job that you're doing now.
Yes, correct.
And ever
Cool.
since you've picked up this job, what was your favorite thing so far? Was there any highlights at all that you had?
I think I've had some life-altering moments.
Oh, really?
Life altering. Okay.
Yeah, oh, it was in a very positive way. Um, I recognize the importance of being around young minds. The part of my job that I love the most, yes, I love marketing to bits, but the thing that I love the most is mentoring students. So every semester, each Union House theatre staff mentors at least 1 to 2 students in the field of their work. So let's say, Tong, if you were a student and you're like, how do people in theatre do marketing? You can apply for mentorship and you can shadow me for a whole semester.
Mm.
So it's a really great way to get a bit of guidance about what you want to pursue and also to be around an actual working organization and seeing the day-to-day. And in that, I had a student that I absolutely adore. And she started off as a very shy international student, didn't have a lot of confidence or self-esteem. And yeah, I found her crying once. And over the course of the mentorship, and mind you, extremely talented. Like I would hire her in a heartbeat. Um, Very great with graphic design, very good in producing work. And yeah, just through the course of the mentorship, when I saw her confidence grow and become this really become she literally became a social butterfly with all her confidence. Like she has more friends than I do. Um,
Wow.
and yeah, she's now managing clubs and going for jobs, doing volunteering left, right, and center. Every student theater group in Union House Theatre wants her to do marketing for them. So it's seeing that transformation of someone and the difference you can make in someone's life that made me really excited about my job. But definitely reaching more people through my events as well, seeing happy faces when we put on a great event and everyone's like, we want more of this. That's
Yeah.
rewarding. Like it's a very fulfilling job.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about theater as well. Like you know, you get to bring so many people together and at the end there's always like people who want more, or like you get to see how you did, and every semester like it's something new, so it's never, you never get bored of it.
Absolutely. And are you still in touch with some of your friends that you met at the theater at Do Everything Now Before the World Ends?
Yeah, I think I saw Simon like at a couple events this semester. Like I went to like a cruise event and he was there and he was running some um pirates themed stuff. So yeah, it was really nice to meet him. And also because they produced a show earlier, I think it was this year, or maybe yeah, I think it was earlier this year. And it was so fantastic to come and watch that. It just blew my mind. Like the show was really amazing. I absolutely loved it.
Um, and just like that, these stories, like it just makes my heart warm and fuzzy that someone just randomly decided one day, let's do theater, and then they walk away with lifelong friends. So
Yeah.
it's really something.
I was about to say, definitely getting FOMO from hearing all of this. While I was at UniMelb, I didn't even consider, yeah, um, being a
Master's
part of.
degree, Tom.
Yeah, I know,
Back
I
for
know.
masters.
Yeah. This is a great transition to my next question, but why would you say, students should get involved in theater? What are the benefits?
Well, you have a lot of fun, first of all. You get to create something. Like, how often can we say that this thing, I made this? So, first of all, you get to be yourself, express your creativity, put on a show, which is a really big deal, but in a very safe and fun environment. So, what we tell our students is this is not Broadway. You learn to make mistakes. So,
Hmm.
once you've done a show at Union House Theatre, it might be great, like it might just win a Green Room Award, or it could be super shit. No one cares. Like, we want you to just be brave and put on work. And then what that does is, once you've put on work, it's really easy to do it again and again and again. And that's how we build leaders. And if you're thinking about either making friends, you're lonely, you just want to pass your time and have a fun project that you're working on the side, or you actually want to be a leader and go into the theater industry, getting involved at Union House Theatre and Student Theatre in Melbourne is the best step. Like we've seen so many artists being born out of Union House Theatre simply because in the years that you're studying, you're doing what professional artists do anyway. You're putting
Hmm.
on shows, you're putting on massive works. Carlie here is choreographing two works alongside her degree. And Carlie, like, I think I can speak for you that going ahead, like, if you were to put on a work in a professional theatre venue, this experience would help you guide through that jitters of putting on work. So it's like a testing ground.
Hmm.
And sometimes you don't have ambitions of becoming a theater artist. Sometimes you just want to do cool stuff with your friends. That's great as well. Like it's open to everyone. And
Yeah.
Adi is a computer science student, potentially no links to theater, but did you have fun?
Oh yeah, I think that's what I was gonna say as well. Some of the best highlights throughout my university was because of theater, right? Because you go study's kind of dull, not gonna lie, but it's just you have to get through it. You have to do the assignments, you have to attend the lectures. But it's all the things outside of that that really make your university experience what it is, right? So I did theater, I did comedy, I got involved in startups. Um, and I think yeah, it's just so much fun. Like I enjoyed like doing comedy, like putting on sketches every week, or like doing stand-up comedy night, or being part of the theater show. You just meet so many new people, you get to learn from them, and you get to create something new.
Yeah. And you develop a whole heap of confidence.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're just doing it in a really safe and low stake environment first. that you can
Yeah.
later just go and take on the world.
I thought your highlight, Adi, was linear algebra. I didn't know it was no, I'm playing.
Yeah.
But no, I really like that idea that you kind of create this environment for students to experiment. And even though, they might not come from like a theater background, they can just come along and just produce something that they can be super proud of and have fun with. So that's absolutely amazing. And yeah, again, getting FOMO, as I mentioned before. Um, how I'm just curious as well, how did the two of you get started with theater or performing arts?
Carly, you go first. I've been talking for way too long.
Yeah, sure. So when I was maybe 3 or 4, I was doing cartwheels nonstop around the house. So it made sense that my parents popped me into the local YMCA and I just did some gymnastics. And I kept cartwheeling, but I also loved all the other random bits in between the cartwheels. So I somehow ended up in a little jazz class with some friends from school. And yeah, I loved it. It was the highlight of my week, my Saturday morning, going to my jazz and ballet class. Yeah, that's all I would think about was when I could go to dance again. So yeah, I kept dancing. This was at Dance Time School of Dance in Sydney. And yeah, I picked up contemporary as well and fell in love with contemporary dance. I loved everything about the creativity and expression involved. Um, so yeah, I kept going with that all through high school. And once I finished high school, I joined a little pre-professional of Sydney in Wollongong, and that's called Osti Dance and Physical Theatre. So I trained with them for 2 years. That was, again, mostly contemporary and a little bit of physical theatre as well. So from that, my love for improvisation and some real wacky, weird contemporary dance grew. Um, yeah, and after Osti, I joined We Are Here Company in Sydney. So that was under the guidance of Emma Saunders. And she does beautiful, wonderful contemporary dance, physical theatre works. I was lucky enough to be involved in her work called Encounter, which is a site-specific work. We traveled to the Gold Coast, performed at the Bleach Festival, and also to Berry in New South Wales. Yeah, so that was my Sydney journey. And I knew a part of me thought there was still more that I wanted to learn about dance. I felt like I was slowly getting there to a dance career, but I just needed more. So yeah, I decided to move to Melbourne and started studying at VCA. And now I'm just loving life because I'm dancing all day, every day. Yeah, that's how I got here.
That's pretty crazy. When I was younger, I wanted to become a pilot, and I've given that up quite easily. And I have so much respect for you for kind of sticking to what you've been doing all these years and just keep going at it. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
You know what's
thank
also crazy? I also wanted to become a pilot.
Oh,
you.
look where we're at now.
And I also gave that up. So yeah, no, that's really amazing that you knew from the very start what you wanted to do, and you kind of stuck through it throughout your entire life.
Yeah, I knew I wanted something to do with dance. I didn't know if making it a career would be possible or even just in the arts in general. Yeah, but the like I just always got pulled back to dance. I tried doing other things and tried filling up my week with other things, but I always had dance on the side and it never really felt like it was on the side. It felt like my other things. Felt like my
Hmm.
9 to 5 day job was the side thing and my dance in
Yeah.
the afternoon was the real thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow, that's a really nice way to put it.
yeah.
Um, I think I probably know the answer to this, but did you ever have stage fright? Like getting in front of a stage or in front of people? And if so, like how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the anxiety rush before getting on stage is pretty common for all dancers, I think. Yeah, I feel like it's that first step of once you get out, once I am on stage, everything kind of settles. Yeah, I think not only just on the stage setting, but also dancing just in the studio sometimes, or even, yeah, with site-specific work, dancing and rehearsing outside when there's a bunch of random people
Oh,
walking around. That can be quite
yeah.
scary, but I think I think I've got a pretty good before performance routine, little ritual that I have, and that definitely helps me prepare for performing. But yeah, it's definitely something we're all still working on. Like, yeah, I think it's
What's your ritual
um
that works for you?
there's this one song that I like to listen to. It was a dance that I did probably in maybe 2013. It was my first proper contemporary dance that I did. And yeah, the choreographer for that, um, she was amazing, and I really looked up to her. Yeah, I think I was, how old was I? Maybe 2016. I can't remember. A long time ago. But that dance really has a special place in my heart because it kind of saw my love for contemporary dance. I like to play that song and listen to it and do some improvising, and just think about my life and how I got here and everything. Yeah, and there's a little meditation thing I like to do, certain stretches, and definitely getting myself in the zone of what the piece requires, kind of like how an actor might get into character before they start
Mhm.
filming or something. Yeah, going through how I need to be.
Yeah, okay. Let's get into some of the shows that you're working. Do you want to quickly tell us, you mentioned you choreographed two different shows, right? Tell us about each of them and what was the inspiration behind them?
Yeah, so I'll start with the site-specific piece. So I'll read out the little blurb that I've written for it. The piece is called Luna. Delicately interconnected, the duality of the earth and moon is a captivating phenomenon. Enriched with cultural and spiritual significance, the influence of this celestial satellite is multifaceted. Luna follows the journey of a glowing duet that encapsulates the essence of the moon's influence on the earth. So this site-specific piece is performed in the amphitheatre, which is just outside Arts and Culture Building at Parkville. And the piece is all about how humans are kind of somehow connected to the moon and the earth. So I'm very interested in how the moon has such a big impact on the earth, like it impacts the tides, animals as well. There's lots about cycles. There's heaps of different cultural and spiritual connections to the moon and the different phases of the moon as well. What that means for like manifestation or how it can influence our day, pretty much. Yeah, so I've kind of been obsessed with that. So I thought a beautiful duet would be perfect for this piece. So my friend and I from uni, we're choreographing this dance that involves lots of stargazing, so moments where we're looking up to the sky, tracing stars in the sky. Yeah, and dancing about how the moon influences the earth and maybe influences humans as well.
Hmm.
And we also have moments referencing star signs and the constellations of star signs, and also some pop culture references to the moon, like the first moon landing, cow jumping over the moon, Michael Jackson's moonwalk, like just little snippets of that as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's a big nod to how we don't always look up, and especially at night, we don't always look up, especially in the city because of light pollution, it's hard to see the stars, it's hard to see the moon sometimes. So it's just an invitation for the audience to, lift and look up and appreciate the sky. So yeah, that's my site-specific work. Yes, and for the other piece that I'm doing, this is part of the Small Movements show. And this piece is a solo, so I'm choreographing it on myself. And I will read the little blurb for that one as well. It's titled Retelling. A dreamy world is created using a collection of archived texts and photographs from the development of Anastasia Siota's work, Telling, made in 1995, presented by the Student Union Theatre Department at Melbourne University. A daring combination of documented scores and a subjective lens reveals a collective brain space of those involved in creating this piece. Snippets of the original dancer's movement memories are reimagined, investigating how dancing can reflect the story of the artist, but also the artists before them. So this solo, I did a big, deep dive into all the archived materials from the Union House Theatre, and I really connected to this one piece called Telling, and it's all about how our movement can reflect our life or our story. So Anastasia was very interested in, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but basically how certain emotions create movements in our body and how that can be seen in other people. Yeah, I just found that very fascinating. But the thing that I liked the most was the rehearsal notes from this piece. So I got these little snippets of different cast members in the piece. They have like a little story that they wrote or a couple words of gestures that they did for what I assume is a phrase that they made or something. And I just thought it was so beautiful because it's like I'm seeing into this world or I'm seeing into someone's life, and it's very fitting with what the piece is all about, like showing movement of your story. Yeah, so from that I'm creating my own interpretation of what I thought the movements would have been from these little text things. And yeah, I'm kind of creating a space where it's almost like there's a brain on stage, and I'm like this little pop-up of memories, different people's memories, but also my own as well, mixed into like this one big brain space on stage. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well, I think.
Wow, that all sounds like really mesmerizing. Yeah, I'm curious to see how it will look on stage. Um, do you think there's an element, because in traditional theater, there's a starting, beginning, like beginning, middle, and end, and there's like a kind of a storyline, right? Is that the same with dance performances, or like what's the kind of message you're trying to get across with your performances, or is there even a message?
Yeah, it definitely depends on the piece itself. I think today there is an invitation to break that typical like storytelling or that, beginning, middle, end. And I think the great thing about dance is that it can offer your own interpretation, like the audience's own interpretation of the story. For the pieces that I'm choreographing, the site-specific work, it does have a storyline, but it's very open. So there's moments that I have repeated and manipulated throughout the piece, which come back to that idea of looking up and the stargazing. So hopefully that's a key theme that will invite the audience to look up to the sky while we're dancing. Yeah, and with the retelling piece, there definitely is a very clear storyline similar to what you would see in theatre, but because it's performed through my movement, rather than like speaking, yeah, it's a lot more open for the audience's own interpretation, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have one message that, or like one interpretation, and like the way someone might perceive those movements could be something else. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing about dance, I guess, right? Um, that it's kind of abstract in that way. So you can, it's interesting how you can, two people can see the exact same thing, but take away completely different items from it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's very like, I guess, unique to dance itself.
What would you say, Carlie, would be the hardest thing about being like, a director and a choreographer?
Yes, I love this question. Yeah, the thing that with dance a lot of the time is that you don't only have to be a dancer, you've also got to be the producer, the lighting technician, the photographer, the marketing, executive, the finance person. You've kind of got to do all of it. So I think that's definitely a difficult thing with making your own work. And then also dancing in your own work as well. So there's lots of different elements to think about, and that's definitely been a big thing for me being involved in this festival, but it's also been super great to see all the different things that are involved with producing a work. Yeah, I think an important thing that I learnt was I'm not alone. I can ask for help. Yeah, and being at VCA as well, I've got people from different disciplinaries that I can just approach and ask for help if I wanted to. For example, I got another first year interactive composition student. His name's Hamish, and he wrote the music for my site-specific work because I was struggling to find the right track. So I thought, oh, I could just get someone to make it for me. Yeah, so it's a lot of work, like admin wise, just organizing things, organizing rehearsal times, and figuring out just like the stuff, like the speakers, the lights, how everything's going to run. But it's all worth it in the end. And yeah, like Simran said before, it just magically comes together somehow. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm just wondering, right, with dance, do you come up with the movements first or the music first?
Yeah, good question. It depends on the context. Yeah, it can be both. For these pieces that I've choreographed, most of the movements have come first.
Mm-hmm.
But there are definitely times when you will choreograph to the music, or you might make movement first and then put
Mm-hmm.
it to music and then kind of change it again to fit the music.
Yeah.
Um, there is one part in the retelling piece where I'm reacting to text. So
Mm.
got recordings of some of the rehearsal notes, and I'm improvising in reaction to the words being said. So yeah, that's kind of both movement and audio happening at the exact same time on stage, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds super fun. I think we did something similar for Do Everything Now, so it's giving me flashbacks. Um, but what was the how was the production process different, for each of the shows that you're doing? Like, because obviously with one you're working with someone else, and the other one you're working by yourself.
Yeah, working with my duet partner is great because we can bounce ideas off each other. Yeah, very collaborative. We've made this piece together. And, and I think when you work with someone else, you just get that extra bit of reassurance as well, because I feel like working on my own, I might do something and I think it's really cool, and then I'll look back at the footage and I look like an absolute goof. So,
Yeah.
so I feel like when you're collaborating with someone, you can kind of get things rolling because you can reassure each other, oh yeah, this is good, this is working.
Mm-hmm.
So when I am working by myself, it's just a longer process because I've got to kind of look at what I've done, think about if it's working or not. So it's just a bit of a longer process. But yeah, then again, working by yourself, I've got a lot of authority as well. Like there's lots that I can do. And then also lots that I can't do. And same with the duet, there's a lot more things I can do when there's another person. Yeah, so it's just it is very different working with someone versus not working with someone. But then again, yeah, I can always ask for help. I can always ask someone to watch
Yeah,
me.
you're
I've got to
never
remember, I
alone.
tend to
Yeah.
forget that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think that's surprisingly similar to what it's like with founders, like solo founders versus like co-founders. If you're working with someone else in your startup, if there's times of, uncertainty, you can always bounce ideas off someone else. But if you're working by yourself, you kind of have to be really confident in your idea and kind of just ignore the noise and just power through it, which can be definitely a bit more challenging. And I guess I didn't expect to see that similarity between dance and
Yeah.
startups there, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
I completely agree, Adi. I've always seen putting on a theatre show as if running a business.
Oh.
You've got a seed of an idea, or you've got a play that you want to put on. You get the people together, you somehow find funding and money, and there's budgets involved.
Yeah.
And you tell the team what to do timelines and deadlines, get the set designer, lighting designer, all those departments working, and then put on a show and make money off of tickets.
Or
The
you go
only
bankrupt.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. And the
Hopefully
only
not.
difference between, I guess, a startup and a theater performance is, I guess, that's the thing with theater is that anytime you put on a new show, regardless of how many times you've done it before, every new show is starting it all up from scratch.
Yeah.
You might have an audience base that loves you, but you still have to do all of the funding and timelines and deadlines and budgets and whatnot from the very beginning. So yeah, it is quite similar, that sort of startup businessy um, thing and theatre. And you also got to market both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I honestly didn't think of it until you said that. But yeah, like producing a show and startups are very similar. Especially because of the chaos, right? I think they're both chaotic, but there's there's something in the chaos that's like allows the startup or the theater show to come through.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's just so many different moving pieces that you kind of have to coordinate and get to like bring together. So yeah.
And then there's also that added, like, are you being funded by someone external, like a venture capitalist or a
Yeah.
organization like Creative Victoria? Or are you putting money of your own and just hoping and praying to God that it works?
Yeah.
And just like every startup, every artist has a different vision, a different thing that they offer to the
That's right.
world. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're gonna head to the closing section soon. But one last question we have for you, Carlie, is, throughout this production process, what would you say has been a major highlight for you?
Yeah, just having fun dancing and making what I want to make as well. Um, yeah, oh, I think having this really great opportunity to just get my ideas out there into a final product that's actually being performed. That's been a really great highlight. And also just giving myself the permission to just fully get obsessed with my own little creation that I'm making. And yeah, knowing that I've got this safe space to perform, has just been super exciting. So yeah, it's been a really great highlight to just actually get my ideas out on the stage, which I'm really looking forward to.
So basically the entire the entire production was a highlight for you.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, that's definitely good to hear. Yeah, so I think we talked for long enough. Let's head to the closing section of the podcast. So, one thing that I've realized is that the arts are like generally quite overlooked during school times. For me as well, when I was in high school, people kept saying, oh, it's the theater kids, this and that. But then in your guys' opinions, what value do the arts or does theater offer to society?
I think lots. Um, if you're involved in it, and just like what we said before, like you don't have to be an artist to be involved in the arts. You can come from any background and you can choose to stay for however long you want. And sometimes you don't want to get involved in the making of it. You just want to watch it, and that's good enough. That's great. We artists need audiences. And um, what arts does, like, I read this really beautiful quote. It's actually a meme
Yes.
from Facebook. I read
As they are.
5, 7 years ago when Facebook was still a thing. Um, it's Earth without art is eh.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty much like that. Like we're surrounded by art. Even though we might not recognize it, the Netflix that we watch is art. The paintings that we like is art.
Mhm.
The shows like watching Aladdin on Broadway stage is art. So, art is has always been a big part of my life. It's um, it's what I do to escape the world. And sometimes I look to art for inspiration. And I've always found some of my best marketing material from art out there, like nice paintings and photographs and whatnot. But for people involved in the arts, if art's not their main career, if they're just there for one show and then they go out in the world, like it teaches you a lot of great stuff like communication, like leadership, like creativity and expressing your creativity. Everyone is creative, but how you express it is what makes it worth its weight in gold. And in theater, you're leading a team or you're leading a department, you're responsible for your own work, like you're sticking to deadlines. And it is pretty much like running a business and being a really important part of that business.
Mhm.
So those are transferable skills that anyone involved in theater or the arts can take to a what we call a normal job, although arts is still a very, very important part of the industry.
Yeah.
And yes, arts is overlooked, but artists still find a way to make themselves seen. So
Hmm.
just like Carlie's doing with her performance in the amphitheater, getting everyone in UniMel to get them to see a wonderful piece of dance work. And yeah, believe it or not, art is not going anywhere. Whether
Oh
we have
yeah, for sure. Um, and yeah, like we say that art is overlooked, but I feel like art is what, if you look at like ancient societies, art is the one thing that survives, whether it's like stories or paintings or cave paintings, right?
abs-
Um, so I think there's something to it that just we love to see or hear.
yeah,
Um,
on that as well, we received a box of memories from a theater company 30 years ago, and now we're retelling their stories in our version
hmm,
30 years later. Like, how cool is that? That it,
yeah.
even though it might seem like, oh, theater is temporary, but it has survived the test of time.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I guess Carlie, what does art mean to you? Um, yeah, like this is a bit of an abstract question, but you can literally say anything you want.
Mm, yes. To me, art is life and is a reflection on life and living. And I think movement in particular, like dancing, but any form of movement um, is a representation of life. If something's not moving, then we associate it with it not being alive. So any form of movement to me brings life. And I think art is a really important part of healing and enjoyment. It brings me joy to dance and express my art and just think about, yeah, different cool ideas. Yeah, and it's always been a really big part of my life, and I know that it will always be a big part of my life. And I don't see it as something separate. I think as to like a human, I think all humans are very creative and yeah, it's just a beautiful way of expressing our humanness, which is really important for us because we are human. So we've got to express our humanness. So yeah, I feel like art is how we do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any piece of art that you guys hold very dearly or had a great significance to you? There could be anything really. It could be like a piece of music or like a show, a movie, anything really.
Book.
A book. Yeah.
There's definitely lots of books. I'm an avid reader,
Yeah.
so lots of books. But I think if I were to pinpoint one thing, it was a line from a play, from the first play I directed back in 2020 actually, during COVID. That was fun, wasn't? Um, yeah, it had a line, and I think the writing is still considered art. Um, it said, "Be bold and love," and to me, and that interpretation was not just love as in romance, but love as in loving life and taking really courageous decisions and being bold and loving my boldness and myself. And love in itself is an act of courage. And it's that one line I keep very, very close to my heart. Anytime I'm like, is this a comfortable choice or is this a bold choice? And anytime it's not a bold choice, I'm like, not doing it because we're loving our boldness, we're loving our courage, and we're testing and trying. So that's pretty much become my mantra that has come out of a play.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
What about you, Carlie?
Yeah. Oh, so many things. It's hard to pick one. I think there's an artist, her name is Hilma Af Klint, and she's a painter. And from oh, a long time ago. And she was part of like the first kind of abstract painters back in the day. But she wasn't really looked at much because she was female, and at the time, the male abstract artists were getting a lot of the spotlight. Yeah, this is like early 1900s kind of thing. But there's a couple of her paintings that, for some reason, just really stick with me. And yeah, I discovered her maybe 5 or 6 years ago, just in visual arts in high school. And the way that she uses color and different abstract symbols, I don't know, that it's always in my brain. It always pops up. And even when I'm dancing, I'll think of something and then I'll think of her and I think, oh, yeah, she was onto something back then.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's a good artist that I definitely hold close to my heart, and she influences the way I dance, even though she's from ages ago. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting how like previous art can influence future art. Um, and we're all like kind of, building our ideas off of each other. So yeah, it's really interesting. Um, but one question we love to ask our guests is, because we love reading, both Tong and I, is there any books that you guys would recommend to our listeners?
Holly, you go first as I peruse my sensitive
Yeah, maybe pick
bookshelf.
like one or two max. We don't want your whole like Goodreads, list.
Yeah, well, I will admit I'm pretty hopeless at reading just because I read so damn slow. So I kind of avoid reading. But in saying that, I really love reading children's like picture books. I think they're beautiful. I think the art in that and the different illustrations are beautiful. So I don't know if I have one in particular that I recommend, but I would just say adults need to read children's picture books. I think that would be my recommendation. And going to thrift stores is a great place because they've got some weird, wacky ones from ages ago that, yeah, like you would never find anywhere else. So I would recommend going to an op shop and just looking at some of the children's books from there. Yeah.
Wow, that's the first of a
Yeah, we
kind
never had that one before. Yeah.
recommendation. We love it. We love it.
I'll tell you something. The best theater I've watched are children's theater because it's so simple yet really, really complex. But children's theater really finds a way to make really powerful, impactful stories communicated really clearly. So it is like literally writing a big novel for a 5-year-old kind of thing. So yeah, children, I have never tried that before, Carlie. I think I might just go to my closest readings and get, or maybe a thrift store. This is
Yeah.
joke. But I'm currently reading The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, which is a law of attraction manifestation book, which I think is incredibly powerful, and has had a profound impact in the way that I've thought the past week. So I've become a very positive person. And the one that has always been my all-time favorite is just looking at it. It's called The Architect's Apprentice by Elif Shafak. She's I think a Turkish English writer. Beautiful, beautiful book. It's fiction, but it's about a story of a very famous architect in olden day Turkey who created the wonders that we still see today. And it's completely fictional, but it's almost like stepping in history. And there's lots of life lessons kind of intertwined in the stories, which is my favorite bit.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think
Well,
those are some amazing recommendations.
yeah. Well, thank you both for coming onto the show. Before we say bye, is there anything that you would like to share with our audience? So this could be like a small message or a plug to something or just a way to connect with you guys.
Well, first of all, thank you, Aadi and Thong, for inviting us to this podcast. I had a blast, so
We did too.
I want to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
I think what I would say is we've talked so much about art and about Guild Fringe Dance Edit, but the only way to truly experience it is by experiencing it. So it's on from the 1st to the 12th of October at Guild Theatre, which is in University of Melbourne's Parkville campus. It's actually really easy to find, very close to the city with heaps of public transport. So if you're looking for something fun, something cheap, and even something free to do during the Melbourne Fringe Festival, come on down. I'm pretty sure there's something for everybody. And watch Carlie's work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, come watch me. My Luna, the site-specific work, is going to be performed on the 2nd and the 5th of October at 6 o'clock-ish. And the solo I'll be performing is part of the Small Movements, which is on the 10th and the 11th of October.
All right.
Cool. Sounds great. Yeah, I think after hearing you guys talk about it, I definitely want to come to as many shows as I can. So I'll definitely be popping by. I don't know how many I'll be able to attend. But
You
yeah.
guys don't have live streaming, do you?
You know what, Tom? Just for you.
Yeah.
Just you don't mind this week can happen.
Okay. Yeah, let me know. But yeah, it sounds good. And thank you again to the two of you for coming on. Had a wonderful time learning about what you guys do. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best with your modeling career, Tom. And
Thank you.
now pivoting into acting
Yes.
while also product managing. You're a
Yes.
multitasker.
All of the above.
Yeah.
Or a professor or a podcaster.